Football is more than a game. For millions, it is hope, identity, sometimes even the soul of a nation. But that passion has a darker side. It can become so intense, so absolute, that it destroys lives. Colombia in 1994, a country torn between violence, poverty, and fragile hope. In the middle of this chaos, the national team was a symbol, with stars like Carlos Valderrama, Faustino Asprilla, and an elegant defender named Andres Escobar. Many believed this could be the golden generation. The World Cup in the United States was meant to be their triumph. But from the very start, the pressure was unnatural. Media labeled them dark horses. Fans saw them as saviors of a nation. Drug cartels placed unimaginable sums on their games. Andres Escobar was called El Caballero del Fútbol, the gentleman of football. Calm, elegant, fair. He wanted more than trophies. He wanted to show the world a different Colombia, one of dignity. But on June 22, 1994, in a match against the United States, came the moment that would destroy his life. In the 34th minute, sliding to intercept a cross, he miskicked. The ball flew into his own net. Own goal, 1-0 USA. Everything collapsed. Colombia lost, eliminated from the tournament. A nation in shock, millions of disappointed fans, billions in gambling losses, and one player who knew the weight was on his shoulders. Escobar spoke after the game, calm, almost apologetic. "Let us be strong. Life doesn't end here." Words full of dignity, but the world around him was not dignified. On July 2, 1994, just 10 days later, he was shot dead outside a bar in Medellin. 6 bullets. The killer, a man angry over lost bets. That is how the life of a man who only wanted to honor his country ended. One own goal, and a fan, driven by hate and money, decided his fate. This was more than a tragedy. It was proof that passion, when twisted, can become lethal. Football made Escobar famous. Football also took his life. To this day, Colombians remember him, not as the man who scored an own goal, but as the gentleman who played with dignity and became the victim of a love for football that went too far. There are matches you cannot explain without the fans. Nights when the stadium itself becomes a player. Anfield, May 7, 2019 was one of those nights. Liverpool versus Barcelona, Champions League semi-final. The first leg had ended 3-0 to Barcelona. Messi had dazzled, Suarez had scored, and the world believed the final was decided. But in Liverpool, something awaited that no statistic could capture: the power of the crowd. The situation was absurd. 3 goals down against one of the greatest teams on earth. No Salah, no Firmino, both injured. Nobody gave Liverpool a chance. Nobody, except the fans. There are matches you cannot explain without the fans. Nights when the stadium itself becomes a player. Hours before kickoff, Anfield was already a storm. Flags, songs, the legendary "You'll Never Walk Alone." For the players, it wasn't just a match. It was a pact. We will fight because you believe. From the first minute, it was clear. Every tackle was celebrated like a goal. Every forward pass lifted by a collective roar. Liverpool pressed, ran, hunted Barcelona, carried by an invisible force. 7th minute, Divock Origi scores. 1-0, hope, an eruption like a volcano. Suddenly, the impossible seemed possible, but Barcelona still had their 3-0 cushion. One away goal could have ended it all. Every counter-attack was a knife to the heart. But Anfield roared louder, pushing fear back with sheer belief. Players later admitted, "We felt the fans carrying us." Klopp said afterwards, "The energy in that stadium was the most incredible thing I've ever experienced." Second half, Jorginho Wijnaldum just subbed in. Within 122 seconds, he scored twice. 2-0, 3-0, Anfield shook. The impossible was within reach. Then, the 79th minute, a corner for Liverpool. Trent Alexander-Arnold pretended to walk away, then suddenly whipped the ball in. Barcelona froze. Origi struck. 4-0. The stadium exploded. The most famous corner in football history. When the final whistle blew, it wasn't just a victory. It was a miracle. The miracle of Anfield. Players and fans merged into one. Experts said that was not just football. That was psychology. That was energy. That was the 12th man. To this day, that night stands as proof. Fans can make the impossible possible. Without Anfield, without the voices, without the belief, that comeback would never have happened. Football lives on emotion, on joy, on tears, on passion. But sometimes that passion transforms into something else, into fear. There are stadiums where opponents don't just arrive to play, but feel as if they are stepping into hostile territory. One name defines it more than any other: Istanbul. Welcome to hell. That's how Galatasaray fans have greeted their opponents since the 1990s. Days before a European night, thousands flooded the airport. Flares, fire, chants, not cheerful, but menacing. Players described it. It felt like flying into a war zone. Police escorted teams to their hotels, but the fear was already alive, deep in the mind, before a ball was even kicked. Inside the stadium, the pressure became unbearable. 50,000 voices screaming non-stop, deafening whistles for every opponent's touch, banners suggesting violence. It wasn't just support, it was strategy. Break the opponent mentally before the match begins. Many teams admitted later, in Istanbul you don't play against 11 men, you play against an entire city. Another case, Marseille, Euro 2016, Russia versus England. Even before kickoff, bottles flew, street fights broke out. Inside the stadium, Russian hooligans stormed into English sections. Players admitted after, "We couldn't focus. We feared for our families in the stands." And that's the truth. When fear dominates the psyche, the game changes. Passes go astray, focus breaks, even veterans become nervous. Psychologists explain, fear blocks the brain. A player in fear does not play free. He does not see the space. He does not create. He plays safe. And safety in football often means mistakes. That is why some stadiums are seen as fortresses, not because of the grass, but because the fans themselves become a weapon. But this weapon is double-edged. It can destroy the opponent, but it can also suffocate your own side. When the pressure becomes too much, even the home team can break, and often the match flips, when fear spreads not just to the visitors, but to the hosts themselves. Football is usually told as the story of 22 players and a ball, but sometimes it takes only one fan, one ball boy, one spectator to tilt the balance. Moments that prove games aren't only decided by players, but also by those on the edge. A legendary case, Swansea City versus Chelsea, League Cup 2013. Chelsea needed a goal to reach the final. Time was running out. The ball rolled out of play. A ball boy didn't return it. He lay down on the ball, holding it. Seconds ticked away. Eden Hazard, desperate, kicked at the boy. Red card. Chelsea down to 10 men. Swansea held on, reached the final. A teenager, a single fan, had decided the game. That moment shows how fine the line is. Seconds, one impulse, and the course of an entire competition shifts. For Swansea, the ball boy was a hero. For Chelsea, a villain. For football, a legend. Other cases are darker. Pitch invaders disrupting matches. 1997, Germany versus Albania. A fan stormed the field. The game was delayed, the rhythm broken. Or 2009 in Belgrade, where fan violence forced an entire tournament match to be abandoned. Football has seen it too. Flares, pitch invasions, laser pointers blinding keepers. One spectator can alter the balance. But not every case is chaos. Sometimes it is a single fan lifting a whole nation. Example, the famous Iceland fan at Euro 2016. One man started the Viking clap. The stadium followed. The team, underdogs, grew into giants. It proves a truth. Fans can destroy, but they can also build. They can be danger and salvation. Football has always been shaped by both sides. And in the end, it comes down to this. A player may score goals, but a fan, just one fan, can decide the game. Now, it's your turn. Have you ever witnessed a moment when a fan, a ball boy, or a single spectator changed a match? Tell us in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like and subscribe. so you won't miss more stories where football is bigger than 90 minutes.